Do you feel like me, it's starting to get a little personal on Paula Vernels? It's taken far too long. She allowed prosecutions to go on. I don't want to be too rude, but she was clearly incompetent at her job. She is a person of faith, so she'll have a belief. She'll know that she has let a lot of people down. I don't know whether she has children. I've absolutely no idea. She's 65, so if they are, they're not going to be school-age children. She might have grandchildren. They're probably going through hell. You always have to think of the children, I think, at times like this. Pretty embarrassing to be stripped of a CBE, isn't it, really? And now the suggestion, 5 million quid as she went out the exit door. There's suggestions that she should give some of it back. Is that going too far, or do you support that? I'd rather look at someone who has made a career almost of calling for people to resign at times of pressure. Everybody from Boris Johnson through to every water board executive, through to, I think, every Conservative MP, just about everything. This is Sir Ed Davey, whose solution to everything is everybody must resign. I don't know if he necessarily has to resign, but seeing as he got his K for services as well, why doesn't he get stripped of his knighthood and just become plain Ed Davey? Is that an area to explore? Does he lose his knighthood, in your view, Martin? Good morning.
I certainly think that there needs to be an inquiry into his behaviour. I mean, you've got he's asked for 31 resignations whilst he's been in Parliament for people doing misdemeanours, and then he doesn't seem to feel the need to resign on his own, under his own incompetence. Now, he got a knighthood for basically doing nothing whilst he was in government. He actually actively didn't do anything, and then lo and behold, a few years later, he trousers 250 grand working for the very law firm which have been persecuting the postmasters. Bit funny that, Nick, don't you think?
I think there are so many strange things. There's the behaviour of Fujitsu, there's the aspect that they've continued to get contracts. As you rightly say, Martin, it seems to go round and round in circles.
I don't want to turn this. Part of the reason I've not done media on this is I don't want this to become a political football. Ed will need to, again, examine his conscience, look in the mirror and think, did he do everything he possibly could at the time, challenging the post office management, challenging his team to say, again, the question I would have asked is why the sudden spike in change of human behaviour? Just because we've got a new IT system.
He didn't ask any questions, Mr. Zahawi, did he?
And sometimes, again, I think, by the way, this is a lesson for all ministers. And I've been a junior minister. I've obviously did the vaccine and then ran the cabinet office and the treasury. You sometimes have to just be able to push back against the machine when clearly you see unusual behaviour, spikes in behaviour, should be able for a minister to say, hold on a second, right, explain to me, why is it that suddenly hundreds of postmasters are fraudsters, when for years they've been perfectly well-behaved postmasters doing a great job? There has to be a reason. Now, you can't just say to me, well, because the IT system is so much better now that it's picking up all this stuff. There must be something wrong with this thing. And I would have just kept digging because, as we did in the Select Committee, to be fair, Kevin Jones and James Arbuthnot, who did this brilliantly, kept going and going and going. And we've, hopefully, what I've asked the Justice Secretary to do is to show the best of Parliament. Well, let's bring forward a short bill that would overturn the convictions.
We're staying with Horizon. And as we've been saying over the last couple of days, pressure building now on Sir Ed Davey, the Lib Dem leader, over his inaction as Post Office Minister in the early days of the coalition government. Indeed, Nadhim Zahawi, of course, served alongside him as a junior minister, saying that he should have asked more questions. Well, LBC's Henry Riley is now in the studio with me, an exclusive development involving Sir Ed's role in the scandal. Henry, what you got?
Well, Nick, Shathian Shigzu ran the post office in Tolworth between 2001 and 2006. Tolworth is an area of Surbiton. It's about a 10-minute drive from there and is crucially in the constituency of Kingston and Surbiton. That is where Sir Ed Davey is the local MP. He, of course, the Liberal Democrat leader, the former post office minister, as you referenced. Just have a listen first. This is Shathian telling me about his personal situation.
I'll start getting the error notes for kind of like a smaller amount, £100, £130 and £200 and these and all. So going forward in 2006, and this amount is going higher, higher. And I had a shortfall around £15,000. And then there is two gentlemen come and they done the full audit and everything. They come and told me, yes, it is about 20,000 something short. And I was quite shocked because it's never happened into my post office at all. Then they said, okay, they took my key away and they said, I cannot get to the post office at all. And they closed the post office for the half day. And even though I don't have the money in my bank, and I asked my friends and family, and they put the money to honor the check.
Now, he ended up with a shortfall of £20,000 and had to be helped by friends and family. He was once very much a pillar of the community in Tolworth, but he told me local residents began to turn on him. He was spat at and racially abused.
My post office closed down, and there was a newspaper comes an article that I steal the money. I really had a horrendous a month because people are start shouting to me. I got 2 times people spat at me in my face. And calling me, you come from a different country and you're just stealing our old people's money and get off from this country, this, that, and all. And I got thrown by the rotten tomatoes and thrown by the eggs. Is something nobody should ever face at all, and people coming and spitting on your face.
Now, he has recuperated some of that £20,000 shortfall, but he's had no compensation. He also told me he tried to reach out to Sir Ed Davey, his local MP, but he was rebuked on 3 occasions.
He refused to talk to me then. I didn't get no chance to talk to him. I tried 3 times. Ed Davey should have talked to me then, and at least those days, probably I don't get any chance. Then again, I would have said now, my MP had a chat with me. He tried something. He didn't. He just completely ignored me. It was my worst nightmare going through, and I was looking for somebody to talk and somebody to believe me.
He also said, Nick, that because of some of that racial abuse that he received, he became suicidal.
I became suicidal, and one of my low moments, my daughter caught me that otherwise I wouldn't have been here to talk to you. Then they forced me to take to abroad, and I've done my mental health treatment for 4 years in India.
So he went away to India for 4 years, has now come back to the UK. He told me as well, far more than money, he was concerned that his daughter's education was one of the key things that he'd lost as a result of this scandal.
I lost my two of my house. I lost 2 of my business. I lost my abroad the house, and I lost everything. And the biggest thing what I lost, Mr. Riley, is my daughter's study. She was about to sit for her the A-level exam, and she see that I was suicidal, and she took me to India, stay with me for 3.5 years, and so that her study is gone, and post office ruined my life, and the post office ruined my daughter's life, and it is kind of like one generation, they ruined the second generation as well.
Lastly, Nick, pleased to report his new local MP, Wes Streeting, he says has been very helpful, and Shathian is doing very well. He's actually an area manager for quite a big pharmacy company as well, so he's back on his feet.
Well, that's good to hear. Have we had any response from Sir Ed Davies' office yet about? Was it 3 times?
3 times he tried to contact him. Shathian.
Shathian, yeah.
And he tried to contact him on 3 occasions. He claims that on 2 of the occasions he was told he was too busy and didn't have time to meet, and on one of the occasions he was ignored.
He mentioned it, but
Keir Starmer mentioned it, but didn't press a specific question.
I'm never going to make another prediction again.
No.
So because he didn't fit. Well, let's just establish for the tape, because I hate to accuse colleagues of misremembering and mishearing things. You claimed that shortly before Rishi Sunak had attacked Stephen Flynn for trying to politicise the post office scandal, you claimed that Lee Anderson had been politicising it with.
No, it's very upsetting, isn't it?
I'm sure that not Lee.
Now then, the Horizon Post Office scandal saw hundreds of innocent people sent to prison. People like a former constituent of mine who went to jail for 3 years. Now, during this scandal, the leader of the Liberal Democrats was the minister in charge of the post office. In charge of the post office. This is the same Liberal Democrat leader who, in the past, has called for the resignation of over 30 prominent people in this country who have made mistakes in their job. So does the Prime Minister agree with me that the leader of the Lib Dem should take his own advice and start by clearing his desk, clear his diary and clear off?
Oh dear. And what was it, 20 minutes later that the Prime Minister expressed his deep sadness at the notion of another politician trying to politicise this scandal. Natasha, do you think that 30p Lee knows what party the Prime Minister of the period he's referring to there, when Ed Davey was the Minister for Post Offices, do you think 30p Lee knows what party the actual Prime Minister belonged to?
Well, obviously we know that Lee Anderson did have some trouble with parties at one point. He was a member of the Labour Party at one point. We will all
very
remember.
Recently, during this period, actually.
Yes, probably, yeah. So maybe he did not know that.